So if anything changes between now and when I post it, I will somehow try to include it. Okay. But this is the case of Madeline Soto. And this occurred in February of 2024. So let me start out with some details on Madeline Soto. She was born on February 2nd, 2011 in Florida. At the time of this case, she was residing in Kissimmee, Florida, with her mother, Jen Soto, and Jen's on-again, off-again boyfriend, 37-year-old Stefan Stearns. He would often refer to her as his stepdaughter, but he was just her mother's boyfriend. Now, Madeline had a biological father who we do not know really anything about, but that doesn't mean he wasn't in the picture. He has pictures of him and I believe his wife and Madeline on Instagram. So it seems like they had a relationship. I don't know any more than that though. Now, according to most people who knew Madeline, she was a very happy and normal girl. She attended Hunters Creek Middle School, but later on her grandmother did state in an interview in which she spoke in all Spanish, so it wasn't that easy for me to really get a feel on it, but she was supposedly saying that Madeline had a lot of fears and she could never sleep alone at night because of it. Now let's move right up to the date of the crime. It was Sunday, February 25th, and Madeline Soto and a couple of her friends were celebrating Madeline's 13th birthday. She had turned 13 on the 22nd of February, and she was having a little birthday party. And it was said that everyone had a very good time. But Jen Soto, Madeline's mom, wasn't there because she was at work. Okay, so she couldn't make it to the party. Now, the next morning, Monday, the 26th of February, reportedly, Madeline was getting ready for school. It was like any other day. At about 8:45 a.m., Madeline was driven to school by Stefan Stearns, her mother's boyfriend, and he said he dropped her off near the school at a church, and that was because she was embarrassed of his car, and it was kind of typical, that they would do it that way. And that was that. So he dropped her to church and he left, and supposedly it was, the church was right near the school. Later that afternoon, Jen Soto went to pick up her daughter from school, and she was told that Madeline had never made it to school at all that day. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, way back, even back then where I lived, they called your house if you didn't show up. But nobody had called. That's really got nothing Stefan Stearns appeared in a televised interview done by WFTV. Now, Jen Soto sat there and she was shaking like a leaf. Like you couldn't miss it. She was noticeably distraught, okay? And she said that her boyfriend had taken Madeline to school that day. She gave the same story, okay, that we already discussed, that he had dropped her at the church and she walked the rest of the way, or she wanted to walk the rest of the way, and that this was normal, and that Madeline had not taken her phone to school that day, which was also normal for her sometimes to forget it. So they weren't even able to call her when they couldn't find her. Now, Jen said about Madeline's mood the night before, she said, quote, "She was so happy. She showed us all her gifts. She's just a happy girl. And she showed it on Sunday. When she went to bed, she was so happy. I'm trying to hope for the best, but I'm scared for her. I want her to be okay. I want her to be safe. I don't want her to come back harmed. I just want her back. Whatever that means, I just want her back." Now, she had stated that she had last seen Madeline the night before. She said, quote, "I told her good night, and yeah, that was it. Then she said something weird. She said, quote, we dropped her off to school, close to school. She wanted to walk the rest of the way." Now, I don't know if she was using we in some kind of strange way. You know, the way you might talk to a child and say, would we like to put our shoes on now? You know, like just not using we the way you normally would. But she had said that it was Stefan who had taken Madeline to school and not her, and then she's using we. So now a lot of people are trying to dissect this interview, and that's something weird to everyone. But also, another really strange thing was that during the interview, Stefan was lurking in the background. So a lot of people are wondering, you know, did he tell her what to say? Like, what's the deal? Why is he sitting back there and looking so creepy? Now, another thing really odd is that when Jen spoke to the police, when Madeline went missing, you know, that first night when she spoke to the police, she reported that she saw her daughter getting ready for school. So the report said, on February 26th at approximately 0800 hours, Jennifer observed missing Madeline Soto getting dressed for school. Stefan Stearns took Madeline to school, dropping her off near the intersection of Town Loop Boulevard and Hunters Park Lane at approximately 0830 hours. So that conflicts with what she said during the TV interview. So which is it? Did you see her that morning or not? Like, what is the deal? Now, during Stefan Stearns' interview with WFTV, he also told the same story as Jen, that he had driven her to school, dropped her off at the church, and assumed she walked the rest of the way. Now, he appeared distraught during the interview, and he was crying. But a lot of people think that he was not being truthful. Okay, so a lot of people were also dissecting his body language there. Meanwhile, more than 50 law enforcement officers spent the days following officers had found text messages that Madeline had written to her friends not long before she went missing, where she had said that once she turns 13, she wants to live in the woods. So, did she run away because she had finally turned 13 and now she would live in the woods? Why would she want to live in the woods anyway? Her mother said she would never run away. She is not the type of girl to run away. Now, was it just a coincidental statement? Did she even write it? Did someone else write it to try to throw people off? Like, there's another suspicious thing. On Wednesday, February 28th, Stefan Stearns was arrested. So here is the thing. He had voluntarily given them his phone when they were doing the search. And he had said to them that he had accidentally done a factory reset on his phone on the day when Madeline went missing. So, here's my phone. I'm sorry, there's a lot missing because I accidentally reset it. Okay. So, when they examined his phone, I guess he didn't know. We all know, but he did not know that they can find whatever you deleted, right? And they were able to. So, they had found, quote, disturbing images on his phone, which he had tried to delete. And these photos and videos were, quote, criminal and sexual in nature, end quote. The photos had been taken inside the Soto home. They were highly, highly disturbing. I'm not going to go into as much detail as there is available if you want to read about it. When I heard all the details of what was found on his phone, I was like gutted. So there were a lot of close-up images, as you can imagine, and close-up videos of him engaged in almost every act you can imagine. They don't say that it was Madeline, but they give the birth date of the person, and you know it's her. Now, he didn't have his face in these images, but they were able to determine that it was him, in fact. So, he refused to answer any questions about this material that was found, and he is being held without bond. The Sheriff John Mina, met with Madeline's mother on Thursday night, February 29th, that's the day after Stefan was arrested, to tell her that he was confident that her daughter was dead, and that everyone was now looking for her body. He explained that they had found video evidence from CCTV that shows Stearns throwing away items in the dumpster behind their apartment building at around 7:30 a.m. on the day when Madeline went missing. They had found her backpack and her laptop in the dumpster. Quote, at 8:19 a.m., we have evidence that shows Stefan Stearns returning to the complex, and Madeline was visible in that vehicle. We believe she was already dead at the time, end quote. That's what the sheriff said. Horrible. So, once again, nobody could have seen her getting ready that morning for school if she was already dead by 7:35 a.m. when he dumped her stuff in the dumpster. And he couldn't have dropped her at school at 8:30 or 8:45 because at 8:19 believe it or not, less than a day after they found Madeline's body, the local sheriff named Marcos Lopez accidentally shared a photo of the crime scene on Instagram. The post was quickly taken down, and it was, quote, an accident. The crime scene photo was included in a series of pictures meant to capture a fun day with senior citizens. Can you imagine the shock of people looking through a fun day with senior citizens? And I guess at the end of it was this, or at the beginning, one end I would assume, was this horrific photo from the crime scene. Former Judge Belvin Perry Jr. said that the leaked photo could have many legal repercussions. He said, quote, "It was just totally unbelievable. Number one, there's the possibility of a third-degree felony charge. Number two, depending on the circumstances and some of the effects upon the family, i.e. the mother, there's the possibility of a civil suit. There's going to be questions raised about the integrity of the evidence and chain of custody. I hope they would dot every I and cross every T, because with this gaffe, the defense will look for other things that they may have mishandled," end quote. On March 12th, 2024, which as I said is today for me, but not you, 60 new charges have been filed against Stefan Stearns. 8 counts of battery of a child under 12, 5 counts of battery with a child aged 12 to 18, 7 counts of lewd and lascivious molestation, and 40 counts of unlawful possession of materials depicting performance by a child, 10 or more images. The police chief, Betty Holland, stated, quote, "With this being a complex case with many facets, our work is not done, and we are continuing our investigation into the timeline leading up to Madeline's death," end quote. Stearns will be arraigned on the charges on April 2nd. According to the state attorney's office, battery on a child under 12 is a capital felony and is punishable by life in prison or death if convicted. His other charges carry sentences up to life in prison or 5 years in prison for each count. So he has not been charged for her death as of yet, but I think they are just waiting to get everything in order before they charge him. So let's take a step back from the crime and let's dig into Stefan Stearns' background. Pretty much all of the information that I'm going to share with you has come from internet sources like Facebook and YouTube videos and Reddit, because lots and lots and lots and lots of people are trying to research this case themselves. It is all over the place. So, some of the information about his background comes from his own Facebook page. So, according to himself, his hometown is Lake Forest, California, and he currently resides in Kissimmee, Florida. He is employed as a Disney cast member, which means, one of the people that works in a Disney World or Disneyland park. And at the same time, he stated that he is a warranty manager / production associate at Smart Build Homes. He has previously worked in real estate sales. He was very, very active on Reddit. He was a person who offered advice to teens under the Reddit pregnant and I don't know what to do. Now, this page was supposedly dubbed a safe space for teenagers and young adults. So he responded to her post, and he said, quote, "Like it or not, this is something you may need some help with. You may be scared or embarrassed to talk to a trusted friend or family member, but it's probably the right thing to do. You need to get ahead of this. You need a game plan. You need support." End quote. Now, some internet sleuths were suggesting maybe that was written by Madeline, but other sleuths had figured out that this was actually a 19-year-old girl, not Madeline. Now, as you explore his Reddit posts over the years, you come to find that he has been involved with Madeline for longer than the police even thought. Like, they had said they had found explicit photos and videos dating back to 2022, but it seems to go back to 2020. You know, that not anything explicit, but he had been involved with her. So, on October 31st, 2020, he posted a photo of Madeline, and he wrote, "Girlfriend's daughter wants to paint her Space Marine with night haunt gloom, and I have to say it looks pretty damn good as a main color for the armor." It's something to do with some kind of little figurines. And then 3 hours later, he updated Reddit with the progress he'd made in painting the little figures with Madeline. He wrote, quote, "Yeah, I'm surprised by how good the color actually looks. Doing the gold bits in Gehenna's gold as well. It's a very nice scheme she is doing. I'm helping her along and will post the finished results." A couple hours later, he wrote, "The finished product. My girlfriend's 9-year-old daughter planned and painted this scheme with a bit of help from me on the helmet and small bits. She is very proud and it looks pretty darn good." End quote. So from the sounds of that, he is participating with her in activities that she would find fun. You know, it sounds like they had a good time painting some kind of figurines together. And there were a lot of things about Tamagotchis that he and her were both collecting, and he had bought some and given some to her. Like, there's a lot of posts like that. So he was relating to her a lot on a childhood level, although he was actually into those things himself. He wasn't just pretending. Now, on the YouTube channel Gary Hughes Investigates, there were a lot of Stefan's friends who were interviewed, his friends from the past, and I examined some of it, not all of it because there was just too much. But what I can tell you is from a childhood friend named Ryan. The two of them were friends through their moms. They didn't go to school together, but they lived in the same general vicinity in North Georgia at that time. So at some point, Stefan had obviously moved from California to Georgia, and then to Florida. So Stefan's mom had a horse that she kept at this guy Ryan's house, or his parents' house. So she was often there to see the horse, and she was good friends with the mother anyway, with Ryan's mother, and she would bring Stefan with her because both boys were similar age. Now, Ryan said that Stefan's mom was verbally abusive to him. He explained that Stefan had been ran over in a parking lot when he was a little kid, that he and his mom had gone, to a store, and he had bent down in the parking lot for some reason, and a big truck with a raised truck hadn't seen him and had backed up and ran him over. His mother would throw that in his face all the time, as if it was his fault that he had been run over, and she would say, "The reason why you're so messed up, or you only think that because you ran over." Now, whether or not he had gotten any brain damage or anything, we don't know. We don't really even know if that happened, but this is according to magazines to show to Ryan, and he would claim that his mother bought them for him. He might have been just saying that, who knows if she did or she didn't. But that's what he said. And he was already, at that age, 12, 13, obsessed with PORN. Always wanted to push it on Ryan, which Ryan was very uncomfortable about. And here's the real kicker. He, according to Ryan, Stefan used to store his own semen in little containers. And he told Ryan that if you pour this into a girl's drink, she will become pregnant, and she will have no idea that you did that. He's kind of misinformed for a 12, 13-year-old, but he told Ryan that he had actually done this. He had actually poured his little container into some girls' drinks at school. But Ryan really didn't believe him. Now, the two of them had a falling out when they were around 17. What happened was one night somebody was creeping around the back of Ryan's parents' house, back where his mother had a bathroom. There was someone outside the window. So the father went outside with a gun of some kind, and he found Stefan out there. He almost shot him, supposedly, like he was about to shoot the person, and then he realized it was Stefan, who had a camera, and he was taking either photos or videos of Ryan's mother in the bathroom. So the father took the bullet out of the gun, and he took it out of the chamber of the pistol, and he gave it to Stefan and told him to keep that as a reminder not to do this ever again, because he had almost been shot. So that was the very end of their relationship. Now, according to Ryan, Stefan had lots of tics. He was always cracking his knuckles and biting his nails, always cracking his back and neck. He didn't bathe much, and he almost never changed his clothes. He was always dirty and had greasy hair. He said that Stefan's father was kind of disconnected from whatever was going on at home. He worked a lot and was often traveling for work. Now, another friend of Stefan who was interviewed was Chase. So, according to Chase, when Stefan was 20, he was dating a girl who he claimed was 17, and Chase and their other friends said, don't bring her around, she's only 17. Don't bring her to, any parties that we're having or anything. She's too young. But then it turned out she was actually only 14, not 17, which is a huge difference, Now, Stefan and Chase had a falling out, another crazy falling out when they were 25. Chase was renting a house with Stefan, so they were living together, and they had rented the house through Stefan's dad, who was working in real estate at that time. And there were a lot of problems with the house. Things weren't working, like the air conditioner or whatever, the garage door. So, nothing was he didn't move in, but they got a place together somewhere else, I think. And that guy had been going through his computer, which I guess he and Stefan were both using. They had a shared folder in the computer, and he happened to open the folder, and he came to find that Stefan was storing photos or videos, I think videos, of this guy's girlfriend coming out of the shower. He said he also saw some, quote, kid stuff in there as well, if you know what that means. This guy Chase used the term kid stuff on the computer as well. And what happened there was Stefan's mom supposedly paid off this guy not to say anything and to make it all go away, you know. Now Chase explained that Stefan had worked as a cast member for Disney in the T-Rex area of Epcot until about September of 2023. He didn't know, you know, why he had left. And he also explained that Stefan tried to be seen as the most alpha guy in the room. He would crack his knuckles non-stop and drive everyone crazy. All of his ex-girlfriends thought he was very creepy. And Chase said that Mommy and Daddy would always bail him out of all his problems. And that's about all I've got. So that is the case. What are your thoughts? I will share some of mine. First of all, rest in peace to Madeline Soto. She had such a short and difficult life. My heart goes out to her family and friends at this awful, awful time. Now I want to talk a little bit about her mother. People are saying, you know, maybe she's going to get arrested, maybe she's involved, something, you know, weird going on there. My opinion is that she is not being completely honest in what she's reporting. Yes, for whatever reason, but I do not think that she had anything to do with the murder. I think that, you know, when she went to pick up Madeline at the end of that day at school, she had no idea that she wasn't going to be there. She had no idea anything was wrong. That's my belief. And then after she ultimately spoke with Stefan, I imagine he said something like, they're going to think it was me because I'm the last person to see her. You got to say this, this, and this, or else they're going to think it was me. And, you know, he said it in a threatening way, which made her, you know, fear what would happen if she didn't say the right thing, you know? So that's kind of the way I see it. She did genuinely seem very nervous, very scared that something had happened to her daughter. That's the way I saw it. But yes, she potentially was lying about the, you know, the backstory, which could have impeded the investigation, you know. So, now also, everyone wants to know, did the mother know about the abuse? I would guess, I don't know obviously, but I feel that she had seen, you know, red flags, but she had convinced herself that it wasn't happening. You know, but if it had been happening for 2 years, at least 2 years, we know that it had gone on from 22 to 24, I would think there would be some signs. And for whatever reason, she chose to ignore the signs. I don't imagine that she knew it and she just was like, okay, whatever, I don't care. No, that seems like too much. But I think she was not protected So now they are being extremely careful, which makes sense. But I imagine that once they get DNA back from his car, they're gonna find something there. I think that there will be something found on her body, some kind of DNA from him, maybe under her fingernails or other places. I think there will be enough information to charge him and hopefully convict him. Now, why do you suppose? What would be a motive? A lot of people think that perhaps she was pregnant. That would make a lot of sense. And an autopsy will show if she was pregnant as well, and if it's his baby. Yeah. So we have to be patient and let them